I mean, I've made many mistakes. You make lots of mistakes. I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues. Well, I am certainly not perfect, so let's start there. And I think that
Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall. Let's just fix the problem.
When she doesn't want to answer a question, her habit is to kind of go to word salad city.
If she were an animal, she'd be a duck-billed platitude.
But look,
it's a total word
salad.
So Kamala Harris went on CNN to participate in a town hall as a last-ditch effort to try and save her tanking poll numbers. But as history would indicate, this was, of course, a very bad move. But unfortunately for the Democrat Party, it was the only move that they had left. I mean, her poll numbers are in the gutter. They are just getting worse. So they have to do something. So what do? They roll the dice and put Kamala Harris front and center for this town hall moderated by Anderson Cooper, who, to his credit, challenged Kamala Harris on multiple occasions.
You've been in the White House for 4 years. You were vice president, not the president. But why wasn't any of that done for the last 4 years?
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done, that haven't been done, but need to be done.
So let me just repeat what she just said back. Well, there's a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done that haven't been done, but need to be done. I'm not a presidential candidate, but I feel like I could come up with a better answer than that. I legitimately don't understand what is going through Kamala Harris's brain. I mean, I would like to say, I'm biased. I'm not a Kamala Harris fan, so I'm being kind of hard on her. But when I legitimately read back what she says as this answer to Anderson Cooper's question, I just don't understand what she's even trying to say. Is there no way she can come up with some sort of better answer? I mean, even like the world's worst politicians that are, exceptionally good at, beating around the bush and talking in circles, they at least give you a nugget, a morsel of an answer to your question. They might, throw you a bone, but then beat around the bush when it comes to the rest of the issue because they don't want to, really commit themselves to a certain thing. But Kamala Harris, she doesn't even do that. She just simply spews out words. And, it's really flabbergasting to me that anyone on the Democrat Party thinks that this is acceptable.
Is there something you can point to in your life, political life or in your life in the last 4 years, that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many mistakes. And they range from, if you've ever parented a child, you make lots of mistakes too. In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
So here Kamala Harris pulls the classic move of answering the question, this question that you might find in a job interview where they ask you, what's your greatest weakness? And then you're supposed to answer, well, this is what all the experts say, at least. You're supposed to answer by coming up with something that could, I guess, on the surface appear to be a weakness, but in a roundabout way is a strength, an underlying strength. That's how they always tell you to answer this question about what your greatest weakness is. Well, Kamala Harris, she forgets the first part of that. Being well versed on issues can in no way, at least from what I see, be considered a weakness. So she's just repeating something that would just, at the end of the day, just be a strength to Anderson Cooper. So, I mean, this just comes off as completely disingenuous. And not only that, but you can tell she's really fishing for an answer to this question. She's got a lot of uhs, a lot of pauses. And then she comes up with this ultimately after saying, well, I was a parent, so I've made a lot of mistakes that way. And honestly, when I'm watching this, I'm thinking, she could have really stuck with that answer. She could have really stuck with the parent answer. I do believe Anderson Cooper was asking specifically about being vice president, but she could have just stuck with the parent answer, volleyed it back to Anderson Cooper, and he may or may not have pushed back on saying, well, I was asking you specifically about being a vice president. But what's really crazy about this is she actually does this twice. When Anderson Cooper asked her about mistakes she might have made when she was in office, and then she does it again when a audience member asks her a question about her weakness. So she does it twice. Twice she answers this question by attempting to come up with a weakness that could be perceived as a strength, but really answering with something that can only be perceived as a strength, not a weakness.
What weaknesses do you bring to the table, and how do you plan to overcome them while you're in office?
That's a great question, Joe. Well, I am certainly not perfect, so let's start there. And I think that perhaps a weakness, some would say, but I actually think it's a strength, is I really do value having a team of very smart people around me who bring to my decision-making process different perspectives. My team will tell you I am constantly saying, let's kick the tire on that. Let's kick the tires on it.
So this was an extremely painful town hall to watch. Kamala Harris, she constantly had these word salad answers. She constantly paused. She was looking like she was searching for an answer to the question. She really could not find it in her head. And I was really surprised by how Anderson Cooper handled this, because he almost acted as if he was a predator on prey, because he really didn't give her much wiggle room. Every time she would try to pull back and try to evade the question, he would simply press forward and ask another question, compounding the difficulty for her to answer the question. And I think the best example of this was when he asked her about the border wall and why, if so many Americans are worried about illegal immigration and these millions upon millions of migrants coming over illegally into the country, why didn't she fix it? Why didn't she play any hand in fixing this or stemming this flow when she was in office, when she was the vice president? Watch.
2022, 2023, there were record border crossings. Your administration took hundreds of executive actions. It didn't stem the flow. Numbers kept going up. Finally, in 2024, just in June, 3 weeks before the first presidential debate with Joe Biden, you institute executive actions that had a dramatic impact, really shut down people crossing over. Why didn't your administration do that in 2022, 2023?
First of all, you're exactly right, Anderson. And as of today, we have cut the flow of immigration by over half. In fact, the numbers I saw most recently, illegal immigration
But if
is
it was
low.
that easy with that executive action, why not do it in 2022, 2023?
Because we were working with Congress and hoping that actually we could have a long-term fix to the problem instead of a short-term fix.
You couldn't have done one and both at the same time?
Well, here's the thing. We have to understand that ultimately this problem is going to be fixed through congressional action.
Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall. So remember, Donald Trump said Mexico would pay for it? Come on. They didn't.
But you're agreeing to a bill that would earmark $650 million to continue building that wall.
I pledge that I am going to bring forward that bipartisan bill. Let's just fix the problem.
To fix the problem, you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I am not afraid of good ideas where they occur.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense, because he actually didn't do much of anything. I just talked about that wall, right? We just talked about it. He didn't actually do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our border.
Now, the response to her performance reminded me a lot of when Joe Biden debated Donald Trump earlier this year, when his cognitive decline was put on display for the entire world to see. It was unjustifiable. And even the mainstream media, the mouthpiece of the deep state, the regime itself, had to acknowledge that, wow, this is bad.
The things that would concern me is when she doesn't want to answer a question, her habit is to kind of go to word salad city. And she did that on a couple of answers. One was on Israel. Anderson asked a direct question, would you be stronger on Israel than Trump? And there was a 7-minute answer, but none of it related to the question he was asking. And so, on certain questions like that, on immigration, I thought she missed an opportunity because she would acknowledge no concerns about any of the administration's policies. And that's a mistake. Sometimes you have to concede things.
Republicans would take another hour of Kamala Harris. We'd just press play, let her keep going. We'd pay for another hour to let her keep not answering the questions. I think Anderson's asking her, well, why haven't you done it? You've been there for 4 years. Why have you done any of this? And the word salad answer she gave to that was just mind-boggling. I mean, it's blown up the internet, her answer to that question.
So I was thinking about it today. What is the most charitable reason why Kamala Harris acts the way she does? I mean, I could just say that Kamala Harris is not intelligent. She's an airhead. You know, some people say that she is drunk. I don't know about any of that. But if I were to give a real charitable explanation of why Kamala Harris is like this, it's probably because she's under a ton of pressure. And unlike Donald Trump, she has little to no individuality when it comes to being the head of the party. If you look at Donald Trump, I mean, you can say whatever you want about Donald Trump, but he is 100% an individual, and he is dragging the party along, or has dragged the party along, kicking and screaming in some cases. Kamala Harris, not so much. They are attempting to shape and mold her into, I guess, a Frankenstein's monster of different amalgamations of things that they want her to say to the public. So she really has no, I guess, agency or input in what the party is going to do. So I think this really is something that she can't handle. So when she tries to answer these questions, she just kind of falls apart because none of the answers to the questions have anything to do with any values that she actually holds as a person. And that is tremendous pressure to put someone under if they are just simply answering a question unscripted like she's doing in these town halls. And you can do it for a certain period of time, but when you've been campaigning for months and when you've been under the public limelight for months, that really weighs on a person's mental capacity, especially someone like Kamala Harris, who I don't believe is the strongest person to begin with. But what do you guys think about this? Do you guys agree with my charitable explanation of why she acts the way she does? I don't know if that's why, but I was just trying to be charitable, okay? Let me know if it makes sense to you. But if you could please like and subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate it. Until